Hey everybody, it's Bruce here from WaterBear. Now this channel is all about helping you on your journey as a musician with lots of tips and hints and information. And this is all about stuff you can use right now. You can use it today and it'll help you on your journey going from where you are now to where you want to be. So today we're going to talk about how to look after your fans. Now, this is your kind of key performance indicator, I suppose, to use kind of management speak. But the thing is with music, a lot of it is kind of subjective. You know, how do you know if your fans are going to like the band? The thing that you can measure is how many fans you got. And the way you can get fans is be great and look after them. The thing is, if you don't look after your fans, somebody else will, because there's a lot of bands out there. So this is about you going the extra mile and making sure that you are actually building an audience by giving them some proper value. And the point I'd make here is that if you're in an emerging band or a new band, it's really tempting to reassure yourself by picking holes in what established bands doing, because it kind of feels like, oh yeah, we're better than them. But to a degree, those guys have kind of proved their point. If there's a band and they've got an audience, they've done the job of the artist to speak for somebody. You know, your opinion on this and how good they are is a kind of academic point. And the spotlight now falls on you to see what you can do in terms of speaking for your audience and building that artist and fan relationship. So let's get cracking with 3 tips to make all this happen. Tip number 1 is give more than you receive. The engine room of your artistic career is those hardcore super fans. So they are slightly different to people who just show up at the odd gig. They're the people that will really take your career and drive it forward. So we got to look after them. Now, most people kind of want to be in a band, and people who are really kind of super fans tend to want to have that feeling, but they might not play, they might not write songs. So this is the next best thing. And you've got a real opportunity here to create a club and a sense of community and make that feeling of being a super fan of your band a really special experience. So how do we do it? Well, we do it by giving out exclusive content that other people don't get. And I'm talking about special runs of t-shirts. I'm talking about writing songs for that particular group, and perhaps even producing social media content that's a little bit secret. There's a little bit of an under radar feeling. And I'll give you an example of somebody that does this really well, and that's the festival organisers of Hard Rock Hell festivals. Now, the Hard Rock Hell is a kind of franchise, a series of lots of festivals. There's a secret little club. It's called the Dark Circle. It's an amazing group of fans that really make a difference. If you can get the Dark Circle on board, then that's really, really something. Now, I don't know the details because all this is kind of very cool and very secret, but I know the organisers of the festival do special kind of extra stuff for those super fans, and everybody feels part of the same club, and it's quite a special thing. Other stuff you might want to do are early access to tickets, after show stuff, discount on merch, special runs of t-shirts, watching sound check. Now, some bands do monetize this stuff, and it's up to you how far you want to take that. Personally, I've never done that. I've always felt that this stuff should be free and not monetized. I haven't got a particular philosophical problem with people who do charge for sound checks. Sometimes it's the only way to keep a tour in profit. But I look at it as an investment in those fans. The better that relationship, the longer term your career. And there's an opportunity here as well to involve these super fans in the storytelling aspect of the band. You're building this story together. They're almost part of the band. So someone who does this really well is Rob Chapman. If you look at the way he gets his audience to actually help him design Chapman guitars, for example, that's a really big feature of that guitar. It's been designed by a community. And that's an amazing thing. I've seen bands ask their superfans to help pick a single, for example, and I've seen an increasing trend that is very exciting where artists are actually involving the fans in the development and the actual writing of the songs. And the distinction between artist and fan is becoming blurred. So song titles, developing little bits of melody, all kinds of stuff, down to writing songs specifically for specific fans, can all be very powerful ways of joining together to create this story. There is some links below of people who do this really well, so check them out. Tip number 2, be available online. And this is about, yes, we know you're going to produce great content, we know you're going to be doing that regularly, but it's about the engagement. Now, Damien Keys often says, you know, if you're having a conversation with somebody and you agreed with them or you wanted to say thank you, you wouldn't just do this. And yet that's what we do on social media all the time. Sometimes it's an appropriate response, but a lot of the time, something more considered and more personalised goes an awful long way. So spend that time on the social media. The gig's not finished until every single punter has left the building and every comment on social media has been replied to. Only then is the show over. And while we're talking about social media and this shared story, I would say be as open as you feel comfortable with. This is different for different artists, but if something's going wrong, or the gig has not been well attended, or your album's late, people do tend to respond well to honesty. And when you try and fudge it over or put the wind machine on and try and make it look like Wembley Stadium when it's actually a tiny little pub, that doesn't go over quite so well these days. People can see behind the scenes. Tip number 3, my career was built on this particular one, which is be available after the show. Day in, day out. If you're on tour, if you're on tired, whatever, it doesn't matter. The minute the gig finishes, your responsibility is to make sure somebody's packing the gear up and you whip onto the merch stand to meet your audience as quickly as possible. So you're going to be signing stuff, you're going to be doing loads of photographs, you're going to be having a chat, you're going to be having a drink with people. It can be really nice socially. There's a bit of energy to put in here, I know, especially if you're not naturally a sociable person. But this stuff, again, it's an engine to your career. For me personally, it's been incredibly important because my band took a gap. The gap was 20 years and we didn't maintain it with any social media. And the minute we re-engaged out with our audience, they were still there after 20 years because every time we did a gig in the UK, in Europe, we did an after show meet and greet. We never charged for it, we never will. And the reward was when we went back out on the road, 20 years later, everybody still came out. The same family got together. Now, if all this sounds like hard work, that's because I'm afraid it is. It really is. But I'd also look at it as a quick win because most bands ain't going to bother doing it. So there's a real opportunity for you to look after these fans. And actually, you know, I said, if you don't look after your fans, somebody else will. Well, actually, what's going to happen is you are going to be looking after a lot of other people's fans. You're going to do it better than the other bands. And that's one of the reasons why your audience is going to grow and grow faster. Thanks for listening. I've been Bruce. You've been Brill. And if you want to do this stuff day in, day out, you know where we are. We're WaterBear in the heart of Brighton. But you can study with us from all over the world. You can get a master's, you can get a BA honours degree. But it's all about taking what you're doing and getting a qualification at the same time so that you've got that kind of ability to have a long-term, sustainable career in music. That's what we want. We don't want to get a proper job, we want to be in control of our own careers. We're going to be self-employed, we're going to design our lives, it's going to be realistic, achievable, sustainable and flexible. Whatever punches we get, whatever roller coaster life gives us, we're going to have the skills and confidence to ride it and have a long-term career in music. That's what it's all about.